Appreciate you guys coming out. Been here for a couple days now, so excited to really get around the players, to once again collaborate with the scouts and hopefully pick a good player here come draft time.
When it comes to getting to know the players, how well can you actually get to know them? The meetings are relatively brief, but what can you glean from those interactions?
Yeah, sometimes guys walk in, they just have a sense about them. I don't know how to explain it, but swag, I guess. Do the young kids still say swag? But they are short interviews, but at the same time, you can gain information just as far as the confidence level. You'll watch a little bit of film as far as their knowledge of the game. I mean, there are a lot of things.
Is there something you're looking for in particular?
Good players. We're just looking for good players, Karen.
When you're interviewing them, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're looking for someone who's very knowledgeable of not only the game, but also self-aware of their strengths and weaknesses. I think that's an important part of it.
When you're analyzing or scouting quarterbacks, what traits are the most important to you?
Yeah, the thing about quarterbacks for me, look, everyone wants the big arm, the mobility and things like that, but I do think it's important just to get a good sense of what type of competitor they are. Their toughness and things like that. Those are things you really want to look for.
How do you measure those things?
It's hard. One thing I would say is the film. So you get on the film and you kind of talk through things. You want to see how they respond to adversity on the field. And honestly, you want to talk about some of the adversity they had off the field as well.
Jerod, you talk about mobility. How much is that factored into the position? I mean, even starting from your playing days and how that might, how much importance has that changed?
Yeah, when you talk about mobility, I think you have to put it in two buckets. There's one where it's pocket awareness, where guys can slide around in the pocket and still run a 5.2 40. And I think there's another type of mobility where, you have the quicker guys that can really get outside the pocket. So, I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
We talked yesterday with Elliott about chain of command in terms of who's making the call at number 3. What have those conversations been like with you?
They've been great. They've been great. We're on the same page as far as everything's concerned, and I would say as we get closer to the draft, we'll definitely be one at that point. But at the end of the day, like, Elliott's going to make the final decision on that.
Do you guys have a timeline yet for when you want to know what you want to do with number 3?
It's my first time. My first time doing this, so I'll tell you a little bit later. I'm not sure.
What do you remember about your combine experience?
It was hectic. You go see medical, you go see all these teams, and it's just like a whirlwind. It's tough, but at the same time, the guys are up for it. I would say you gain more information from this side and also from the prospect side during the 30 visits, so those are very important.
That wasn't too long ago that you were at the combine. Does that make it easier to relate to these guys?
Oh, absolutely, and I try to let those guys know, look, just relax, breathe, like you'll be okay. It's just the process, but it'll be over soon.
Elliott said yesterday that you guys want to weaponize the offense. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, it just looks like, putting people on the offensive side of the ball that the defensive side has to prepare for, whether that's double teaming or anything like that, but that's what he means by that.
You also talked about a more explosive, faster defense. Is that something you felt last year going through? We could be a little bit more fast.
Every year you're always looking for bigger, faster, stronger players, so, I mean, that's a pretty general comment.
Jerod, you said yesterday that you guys want to play younger players. Assuming that's something that you guys have talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also say you want to play younger players because first of all, they're cheaper. And then second of all, I would say you want to have a good mix, though. You can't have all, 22, 23-year-olds out there. You need that 30-year-old that can kind of settle everyone down that has that experience, too.
We talked to Elliott
in free agency in a couple of weeks. What is going to be the priority for you guys in free agency?
It's hard to build a sustainable team through free agency, but you do want those pieces that you can kind of plug in. Look, one thing I would say about free agents, you got to make sure they're a good culture fit or culture add as well. So that's definitely important for us.
Do you feel as though this needs to be sort of a slow burn kind of build for you guys? Because of what you just mentioned with free agency, and we were talking to Elliott yesterday about the pack away. Green Bay not necessarily known for big splashes in free agency.
Honestly, once again, if you want to sustain success, I don't want to call it a slow burn because we will be competitive. We will put a good team out there. Will we win a championship? I don't know, and I don't want to make those promises. But at the same time, I feel confident about our plan to really turn the ship around. Look, honestly, the way I think about this stuff, it's been done a certain way at a high level for 20 years. But I would also say there's more than one way to skin a cat. It worked for Coach. We'll see what works for Elliott and myself.
Jerod, in terms of cap space, how do you see things moving forward with J.C. Jackson?
Those discussions are still going. Look, I love JC, coached him, saw him develop into a man. We'll see how that goes going forward. But look, heck of a football player, 2 years removed from injury. He's probably going to move a lot better this year, so we'll see.
Jerod, yesterday I called Kyle Duggar and Mike Conway cornerstone players for you.
Absolutely.
What's your pitch to them?
Man, look, I love those guys. I love Big Mike. I think he has the versatility to play guard or tackle. Look, one of those guys that when he's going, he's dominant. And with Duggar, I would say last year going into the season, there were some questions about, can he communicate and all those. He squashed all of that this year. He did a fantastic job in his new role, without having Devin there. So you definitely want those pieces to stay. And going back to what I talked about earlier, you develop through the draft. So if those guys stay, obviously they've been raised here and they can help push the culture forward.
How much have you connected with them, if at all, over the life?
Yeah, they've been in the facility. It hasn't really been about football. It's really just been about how you're doing. And those guys are excited to go through the process, which I think it is important for those guys to go through the process. But hopefully at the end of the day, they come back to New England.
If it comes down to it, how would you feel about using the franchise tag on one of those guys?
I mean, that's always an option. But at the same time, with guys like that, you want those guys to be happy. You want them to be here for the long term. So that's the plan.
Jerod, is there any benefit to making it clear that you guys are going to do things a little bit different way than Bill did them? Last few times we talked to you or Elliot, there's been a clear sort of delineation there. Is that important for you guys, or to send a message maybe to even players that might play for you?
Look, it's going to be different, but at the same time, I would say, look, Bill did a great job for a long period of time. I don't want you guys to take this as because we're changing as shots toward the previous regime. In saying that, we will do it differently, and it'll feel different. But at the end of the day, we would like to replicate the success that the prior regime has had. And so I learned a lot from Bill and also his staff. But now we'll see what this chapter looks like in the franchise.
Have you connected with him at all since you took the job?
That's more of a personal question. Like once again, I would say that I've learned a lot from Bill on the field and also in the classroom and how to be a professional. So I'll keep that. You ask him that question.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles.